Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to help you cut through all the noise and get right to the heart of the big ideas shaping things. We dig into the sources, pull out the really interesting bits, and hopefully make it engaging. Today, we're looking at something pretty fascinating, actually. It's a way of thinking called interrealism, and specifically how it gives this completely fresh angle on something we all think about, or maybe stress about voting.
That's right. And our goal today really is to unpack this idea. We want to move past the usual political back and forth. We're going to explore how our actions, like voting or even, not voting, aren't isolated events. Interrealism connects our inner world, our thoughts, feelings, and tensions directly to, well, the wider societal impact. It suggests you're more interconnected than you might think.
Yeah, and that leads to some really mind-bending questions we want to tackle, like what if deciding not to vote isn't just passive? What if it's an action in itself? And the whole lesser of two evils thing, could voting that way actually be strategic, maybe even compassionate?
Hmm.
And how do our emotions, the ones we usually try to keep separate from logical choices, actually play a role in the outcomes we want?
Honestly, before digging into this source material, I probably thought, well, voting, not voting. It is what it is. But this perspective, it really shifts things.
Mm.
Okay, let's get into it. So, interrealism. Let's start right there. It sounds quite academic. Can you break it down for us and make it accessible?
Sure. At its heart, interrealism is built on this fundamental idea. Everything is connected. Seriously, everything. It's a philosophy that emphasizes the interconnectedness of all reality. Nothing, absolutely nothing exists completely on its own.
Okay.
Think of reality less like a collection of separate billiard balls bouncing around and more like a giant intricate web. Every thread is linked. So any action, any decision you make, even a tiny one, sends a kind of ripple, a wave through that entire
No
web.
ripple. Okay.
And crucially, this includes decisions like whether you show up to vote or stay home. It's all part of that same interconnected fabric. Right. So if every decision sends out these ripples, how does that specifically change how we should think about casting a ballot? That seems like such an individual act.
Well, that's where the shift is, you see. From this interrealist viewpoint, choosing not to vote, that isn't neutral. It's not like you're just sitting it out.
Uh-huh.
The sources we looked at really frame it as an active consent. You're essentially agreeing to whatever happens without your specific input. You're not just watching politics unfold. You are an integral piece of that whole system.
Mm-hmm.
Your presence or your absence makes a difference energetically. It contributes something.
Yeah, that's a powerful way to think about it, active consent. But what about the frustration? I mean, let's be real. A lot of people feel the systems are flawed, maybe broken. The choices can feel pretty uninspiring sometimes.
Hmm.
That feeling often leads people to just check out, right? How does interrealism speak to that disillusionment?
It does, and I think this is one of its most valuable contributions. It asks us to look at that disillusionment differently. Your awareness of the flaws, that feeling of frustration or even pain about the system's imperfections, that's not a sign to give up. Actually, interrealism suggests that awareness itself holds a seed of consciousness. It holds the potential energy needed for transformation.
A seed of consciousness.
Okay, so you don't ignore the problems. You use your perception of them. And when it comes to that tricky situation, voting for the lesser of two evils,
Yeah.
interrealism offers a reframe. It doesn't have to be seen as just giving in or resignation. It can be understood as an act of strategic compassion.
Strategic compassion.
How so? It's a conscious choice, perhaps, to minimize immediate suffering. And this is key. It's about creating the space for potentially better changes down the road. You're not necessarily saying the system is great or the choice is ideal. You're strategically working within the reality presented to try and reduce harm and keep possibilities open.
That really does shift the feeling around that choice. So if someone listening is facing that exact dilemma, the lesser evil choice, how do they practically turn that vote into strategic compassion? What's the mental shift involved right there in the moment?
That's a great point. It really comes down to your intention, your internal focus. Instead of fixating only on what you dislike about both choices, you consciously shift your mental energy. Focus on what positive aspect, however small, you hope to protect or enable with your vote.
Like what?
Maybe it's protecting certain rights, preventing a specific harm, or simply trying to keep the door open for future progress. The act of intending that, even if it's just mitigating the worst, changes the internal quality, the energy of your vote. It's mindful engagement, not just checking a box.
Okay, mindful engagement. That makes sense. It sounds like there's this whole layer beneath the surface action. You mentioned the inner field earlier. Tell us more about that. How important is it?
Oh, it's absolutely central to interrealism. Your inner field, that's basically the sum total of your thoughts, your emotions, your deep-seated intentions that you carry with you, including to the voting booth.
Right.
Think about it. If you vote filled with fear or anger or maybe feeling totally powerless and cynical, interrealism says you're essentially injecting that specific energy into the collective system.
Okay, I see.
But conversely, if you approach it with a conscious intention of, say, love or responsibility, or even just a fundamental belief in the possibility of positive change, even if you are choosing what feels like the lesser evil in that moment, you fundamentally alter the quality of your participation. The outward action might look identical, but the inner resonance, the energetic signature, is totally different.
So the intention really changes the energetic contribution. But what if someone feels genuinely angry or despairing when they think about politics? It's hard to just switch that off. Is there a small practical thing someone can do, maybe right before they vote, to consciously try and shift that inner field even a little towards something like responsibility?
Definitely. It doesn't have to be a huge emotional overhaul. A simple but quite profound practice is to just pause for a moment. Before you mark the ballot, or even on your way there, just silently state your highest intention for this act.
Like a mini mantra.
Sort of. It could be something really straightforward, like, my intention is to protect those who are vulnerable. Or, I vote to create space for better solutions. Or simply, I vote with hope. Focus on one clear, positive thing you do want to support or enable, rather than getting caught up in all the negativity you're pushing against. It helps anchor your action in a more positive, generative energy field.
That feels doable, manageable. It's fascinating, though, how little this inner dimension gets discussed. Can you give us a really clear example, something to make this inner field idea really concrete?
Yeah, absolutely. The sources provide a great one. Picture this. Two people, okay? They walk into the polling station and they both vote for the exact same candidate, candidate X.
Okay, same vote.
Right. But the first person casts their vote primarily out of intense dislike, maybe even hatred, for the other candidate. Their inner field is just buzzing with negativity, anger, opposition.
I think we can all imagine that.
Now, the second person votes for the very same candidate X. But their intention is different. They're thinking, I'm doing this to protect vulnerable groups, or I believe this choice, while imperfect, creates a slightly better chance for a positive social change down the line. Their inner field is focused on protection, hope, creating space.
Ah, okay.
Now, externally, the action is identical, same ballot marked. But interrealism would argue that their energetic imprint, what they're contributing to the larger interconnected system, is profoundly different. And that really brings this question back to each of us, doesn't it? What energy, what intention are you bringing to the table with your choices?
Wow, yeah, that lands differently. And it also maybe reframes that pain and disillusionment we talked about, that feeling of frustration. Often it feels like we're just supposed to ignore it or push it down. Does interrealism see that differently too?
It really does. It sees that pain and disillusionment not as problems to be ignored, but as valuable information, like extremely valuable. In an interconnected reality, these strong feelings aren't meaningless static. They act as teachers.
Teachers.
They signal something important. They highlight what you deeply care about, what you feel needs defending, or what parts of the world are calling out for healing and transformation. So rather than suppressing those feelings, interrealism suggests embracing them almost like a compass. Let them guide your focus, your engagement.
Compass. I like that.
Yeah. Meaning isn't suddenly going to appear only when the world becomes perfect. The meaning is found right here, right now, in the present moment, navigating the imperfections. Your vote, or any conscious action, becomes significant not necessarily because you found the perfect choice, but because you performed the act with awareness. Awareness of your connection to everyone else, to the planet, to the future you're co-creating.
Okay, so this is obviously much bigger than just election day then. This whole philosophy, interconnectedness, the inner field, how does it actually play out in our day-to-day lives, away from politics?
Oh, absolutely. It's pervasive. It applies to countless small choices, the kind we make constantly without maybe even thinking about their deeper resonance.
Such as?
Well, think about consumer choices. When you deliberately choose, say, a fair trade coffee over a cheaper one with questionable sourcing,
Yeah.
you're not just buying coffee. Interrealism would say you're sending a supportive ripple through the global economic web, strengthening ethical practices, maybe impacting a farmer's life somewhere far away.
Right. Okay.
Or even just simple daily interactions. Someone's rude to you, maybe cuts you off in traffic. You have that flash of anger.
That definitely happens.
Right. But if you consciously choose to respond with patience, or just let it go instead of escalating,
Mm-hmm.
you're actively changing the quality of that immediate relational field. You're breaking a potential chain reaction of negativity right there.
Hmm. Resisting the urge to lean on the horn.
Exactly. Or think about ecological decisions.
Hmm.
Reducing plastic, choosing to walk or bike. These aren't just personal health choices or abstract environmental acts. From this perspective, they're acts of reciprocity. You're engaging with the Earth as if you are, in fact, its extended consciousness, participating in its well-being because you are part of it.
It's extended consciousness.
Yeah?
Wow.
Yeah. Every small decision, when made with conscious intention, adds up. It contributes to the larger picture, the macro reality. It's a deeply holistic view.
It really is. So, okay, bringing this all back around then. We've talked about the philosophy, the inner field, the everyday actions. What's the big takeaway for us when we think about the next election, or frankly, any significant choice we have to make?
I think the most powerful takeaway is to view your vote, and really many of your choices, as a creative act. The encouragement is to engage, to participate, not because you believe the system or the choices are perfect, they rarely are, but to do so as an act of creative responsibility.
Creative responsibility.
Yes. It's about consciously bringing your intention, your awareness of interconnectedness into the act itself, knowing that you are actively participating in shaping what comes next.
And remembering that inner field is key. That even if the outward action feels small or maybe compromised, like that lesser evil vote, focusing on kindness, on justice, on ecological sanity, that intention matters. The sources really push this idea of carrying an intention of love.
Mhm.
Love for people, love for the planet, for those who come after us. Even if the choice is difficult, try to hold a vision of the greater good that your participation, your energy can help nudge things towards. It's quite a high bar, but inspiring.
It is, because ultimately, your vote isn't just for a candidate. It's a vote for the kind of world you want to help co-create. In this interconnected universe, Interrealism describes, every conscious choice, no matter how imperfect it seems on the surface, becomes a thread in that hologram of the whole.
Mm-hmm.
And it's often in these seemingly small decisions, these daily acts infused with intention, that the future really takes shape.
Ah, that's a powerful note to end on. Thank you for walking us through that. It certainly gives a lot to think about regarding our role and responsibility. So, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into interrealism and how it reframes something as fundamental as voting. And for you listening, here's something to maybe mull over. How might consciously shifting your own inner field, your intentions, your focus, actually change the ripple effect of your next significant choice, whatever that might be? We'll see you next time on the Deep Dive.